Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. There was great news last night about World Athletics. They have banned trans women from competing against biological women in female-only events. They're saying it is unfair, and this gives women the chance to compete on a level playing field and to take advantage of the opportunities available to them. And now cycling needs to take a look at itself and do the same. The top female cyclist has just quit the sport, saying that she can't win because everyone who keeps beating her is a man. They are trying to show their woke credentials by allowing biological men to compete against biological women, and it's just unfair, and they are driving women out of the sport. And when the sport simply becomes second-rate men trying to compete for the women's title and there's not a biological woman in sight, it will make a farce of the whole thing. So they do need to change it, or they won't have a sport at all. And so we will take a look at this article to see why this woman is leaving and why cycling needs to change. Here goes. Right, this story is about Hannah Aronson. She's a cyclocross champion, one of the top competitors in the world, and she has just quit the sport. And so we'll go through this. So, I lose no matter how hard I train. Heartbreaking words of female cyclist who quit the sport after constant beatings by trans competitors, as transgender rising star 46 hammers the competition. Hannah Aronson, a 35-time winner on the National Cyclocross circuit, revealed her ordeal in an amicus brief to the Supreme Court. West Virginia is battling to have an injunction removed so that it can enact its Save Women's Sports law to ban trans athletes from competing against girls. In a heart-wrenching statement, Aronson described how she had been overlooked and humiliated and was retiring from cycling as a result. So women are being driven out of the sport because cycling insists that biological men must be allowed to call themselves women and compete as women. It is clearly wrong, immoral, unethical, and it is cheating. And the people doing the cheating are second-rate, inadequate men who cannot compete against other men, cannot compete against anyone other than women because of their natural biological advantage that they have from going through male puberty. A champion female cyclist has quit the sport after constant beatings by transgender athletes, admitting in a heartbreaking message, "I lose no matter how hard I train." Hannah Aronson, a 35 times winner on the cyclocross circuit, revealed her ordeal in an amicus brief to the Supreme Court in support of legislation in West Virginia, which seeks to ban transgender student athletes from competing outside of their biological gender. You can't have a biological gender. It's that you mean outside of your biological sex. It's one of these things where they confuse sex and gender. But basically, it's men trying and pretending to be women so that they can win a medal that they couldn't win if they competed against other men. An injunction by a lower court is currently barring the law from being enforced over the claims it violates Title IX federal sex discrimination protections in education. Aronson is amongst 67 athletes, coaches and family members who have asked the Supreme Court to intervene, and provides a moving account of how she felt has been overlooked and humiliated as she has been bested by male-born athletes. I will say, especially as this is America, education in America is, as you know, horrendously expensive. And so they have various means of getting scholarships, sporting scholarships, and a college will offer a sporting scholarship to someone who excels in a sport. And if this girl who excels in her particular sport, cyclocross, was able to, say, garner a scholarship to go to a top prestigious university to get an education, to get a degree, whatever, and it was her cycling ability that got her there, that would be fantastic. But to have this taken from her by a man who's competing against this girl simply by dint of him being biologically male and having a stronger physical, presence in the sport, that is immoral. That girl could lose her entire life chances, not just the sport, but her entire life chances because of one sad, inadequate man who is not capable of beating other men in a race. This is immoral. It is wrong. And whichever court is upholding this needs to look at itself and say, why is it doing this? Why is it damaging the rights, freedoms and opportunities of women? It comes as transgender cyclist Tiffany Thomas, not his real name, 46, blew the competition out of the water at the Randall's Island crit event in New York over the weekend. Thomas, who only took up cycling in 2018, is 14 years older than his eldest teammate. Writing in her amicus brief to the Supreme Court, Arensman said, "I was born into a family of athletes. Encouraged by my parents and siblings, I competed in sports from a young age. I followed my sister's footsteps, climbing the ranks to become an elite cyclocross racer. Over the past few years, I've had to race directly with male cyclists in women's events. As this has become more of a reality, it has become increasingly discouraging to train as hard as I do, only to have to lose to a man with the unfair advantage of an androgenized body that intrinsically gives him an obvious advantage over me, no matter how hard I train. I have decided to end my cycling career, and my last race at the recent UCI Cyclocross National Championships in the elite women's category in December 2022, I came fourth, flanked on either side by male riders awarded third and fifth places." Now, this girl, she's trained hard, she excels in her sport, and it's being ripped from her. It's being taken away from her because of these sad, inadequate men. And this cannot possibly be right. This is up to cycling. Cycling needs to make a ruling. It needs to say that men and women are not the same, and that anyone who is male by sex and by birth cannot compete directly against women. It's the only way that this can possibly stand. And any state that says that men can compete against women is violating so many rights and freedoms of women. Every woman in that state needs to look at who signed this law and vote the other way next time, because obviously whoever's bringing this law in, whichever party it is, does not care one iota about women at all. And that's the only way to deal with it. I'm going to stop there. There's a picture of her. And this young girl, she's dedicated her life to her sport, and that sport has been removed from her, like I say, by a sad, inadequate man, because she cannot compete against male superior strength. And that's there's nothing you can do about it. It is a purely physical matter, a matter of birth. And that's basically it. Now, this law has to be reversed. The Supreme Court hopefully will reverse this. It's probably too late for Hannah, but hopefully for the next one, and the next one after that, and the one after that, some case of fairness can be re-established in the sport. But cycling does need to actually just ban men from competing against women. Anyway, I shall stop there and come up. I think it's very sad that I need to be making this video so many times. We've said that this is completely wrong, and now a lot of sports are agreeing and saying that men should not compete against women in their particular sport. But it is clearly wrong, especially if you have contact sports like rugby. Having a man play against a woman in rugby is not just unfair because of his physicality and speed. It is dangerous. A man could seriously harm, seriously injure a woman, or worse. And so it needs to be clarified. Men need to not be allowed to compete against women, regardless of how much a man wants it, or regardless of how much he thinks he's changed and he's more feminine now. If he's undergone through male puberty, he will never be anything other than a man in terms of his physicality. And it's sad, and cycling needs to sort it. Anyway, I shall stop now. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you hear and see on the channel, please do hit the subscribe button down at the bottom right now. Ring that bell for notification of future output. Leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and until next time, stay safe, stay well, make sure the person you're competing against is the same sex as you, and goodbye.